Henri Nouwen once said, "Compassion asks us to go where it hurts, to enter into a place of pain, to share in brokenness, fear, confusion, and anguish. Compassion challenges us to cry out with those in misery, to mourn with those who are lonely. Compassion requires us to be weak with the weak, vulnerable and powerless with the powerless. Compassion means full immersion in the condition of being human." End of quote. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Speaking from the Heart series. For those who are new here, this is the place where we talk about the qualities that help us live, lead, and work from a place of authenticity and care. Now, on Wednesdays, we dive into topics that speak from the head: strategy, productivity, business practices. And on Fridays, we explore all matters pertaining to affiliate marketing. But today, we're all heart, and our topic is compassion, a quality that can transform not just our personal lives, but also our places of work and our communities. Hi, I'm Richard Fontenay, and thank you for joining us. I'm glad you've landed on this podcast. And today, we're going to talk about compassion, what it is, how it is practiced from a gospel narrative, and how we can practice it in our places of business, work, and in our everyday lives. You know, compassion at its core is the ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and respond with kindness, empathy, and understanding. It is different than kindness, though, and we'll talk about that in our next podcast. In many spiritual teachings, compassion holds a central place, and the Gospels are no exception. In the New Testament, we see Jesus exemplifying compassion time and time again, healing the sick, feeding the hungry, and comforting the brokenhearted. His actions remind us that compassion isn't merely a feeling, it's really a call to action, an invitation to actively care for those around us, even when it requires some sacrifice. And following his example, we can strive to embody compassion as a powerful transformative force in both our personal lives and in our workplaces. Now, in today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in deadlines, bottom lines, and daily pressures. Yet, compassion, when practiced consistently, has the power to foster stronger connections, healthier workplaces, and more meaningful interactions in our lives. So, how do we bring more compassion into our day-to-day experiences? Let's look at a couple of examples. First, let's look at compassion in business. Picture this. You're leading a team, and one of your employees is going through a tough time. Maybe they've been late on projects, or their performance isn't quite up to par. The easy route is to assume that they're slacking and hold them accountable strictly about their work. But the compassionate approach is to take a moment and ask them how they're doing and listen without judgment. When you offer support with a little bit of flexibility, you not only create an environment where people feel safe, but you also inspire loyalty and trust. A simple conversation with a compassionate tone can lead to greater productivity in the long run. And people really want to work in places where they feel cared for. And here's an example of compassion in our lives. Imagine standing in line at a grocery store. It's a busy day, and the person in front of you is holding up the line. Maybe they're short on cash, or they're struggling with their bags. Instead of feeling frustrated, what if we took a moment to offer help? A simple gesture like offering a hand or even just a smile. You know, these can completely change the energy of the interaction that's going on. So compassion isn't always about solving a problem. And sometimes it's just about showing that we are present and that we care. So how can you and I actively cultivate more compassion in our lives, whether in business, at work, or in everyday situations? Well, first, we can listen deeply. The next time we're having a conversation, we can pause and really listen without planning our response. In this instance, we want to understand the other person's feelings and perspective. Listening is one of the greatest acts of compassion. Sometimes it's not just saying anything. We can just hold the person in a mindful place and just be there for them. Secondly, we can be gentle with ourselves. Compassion isn't just for others. You know, we could take time to show a little kindness towards ourselves, especially when things aren't going as planned. Remember, we can't pour from an empty cup. So we must take care of ourselves. I like to think of it as love your neighbor as yourself, which means for me, the need to love ourselves. And then we can love our neighbors. And thirdly, we can practice small acts of kindness. Now, compassion could be as simple as a kind word, a helping hand, or even a silent prayer for someone going through a tough time. Small gestures really can create big waves. And as I mentioned, we will talk about kindness in our next podcast. Now, if you found value in today's discussions, don't forget to subscribe, share, and give us a thumbs up. You know, it helps us reach more people and build a community around heart-centered leadership and living. Also, when you subscribe, you won't miss future episodes. Now, thank you for subscribing. Now, join me for our next episode where we'll dive into kindness. And yes, it is quite different than compassion. And before I go, we have a number of articles on compassion in our FM e-learning e-zine. And I devote a chapter on compassion in my book, Eternal Unfolding, a different kind of love story. And that book you can find on Amazon. Now, I've provided links in the description below. And finally, remember what Henry Nouwen said. Quote, "Compassion means full immersion in the condition of being human." End of quote. Now, thanks again for listening to Speaking from the Heart. where we cultivate the qualities that matter most. See you next week when we explore kindness and the fruits it can bring. So long for now.